Så där, välkomna allihop till denna presskonferens med min kollega Jean-Marc Ayrault som är utrikesminister i Frankrike. Je voudrais bien dire quelques mots en français. C'est avec...
I'm going to say a few words in French. I'm deeply pleased to welcome the Minister Jean-Marc Ayrault to Stockholm. We met to talk about a series of questions on foreign affairs, security and defense. During this meeting, we also reinforced our bilateral relations and our deep cooperation. France is a very important ally in our politic of foreign affairs and within the European Union, as well as the Security Council in New York, where Sweden is a non-permanent member. And as for the future of the European Union, we have common values for the European project. And we also need a reinforced cooperation towards essential questions like Brexit or the migratory crisis with a spirit of solidarity and shared responsibility. We also talked about very current events at the agenda of the Security Council, among which the situation in Syria, the peace process in the Middle East, and recent events in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Our excellent cooperation is more crucial than ever, and once again, I'd like to welcome you to Stockholm, Jean-Marc, and I'll hand you the floor.
Pour ton accueil.
Thank you, Margot, for your warm welcome. We are used to seeing each other regularly at the European Council of Foreign Affairs in Brussels and more recently in Paris on the 15th of January when we hosted a conference for the peace in the Middle East. And Sweden indeed is a very committed partner at the European level in order to place the two-state solution back on the European agenda. So I take this opportunity to thank Sweden, to thank Margot Wallström for her personal commitment as well as that of her country. And in addition, for a couple of months, we'd been talking about the possibility of me coming to Sweden, and we did manage to find a date. And this gave us an opportunity to discuss all of these topics in more details, because we can see with all the uncertainty around the world at the moment that the values and the principles shared by France and Sweden shall be a compass to lead our action, in particular for the future of the European Union. Of course, we talked about our bilateral relations, which cover all sectors, first of all, in the economic fields. And please allow me to quote two figures. 100,000 French people work for Swedish companies in France, and 40,000 Swedes work for French companies in France, in many fields, including the building sector and the energy sector as well. And in a few moments, I will be visiting the eco-neighborhood of Armabu, Schekstad, and I'm sorry I can't pronounce it properly, and please forgive me for not speaking a word of Swedish, even though Margot speaks proper French. Of course, there is also the academic and research sectors and the cultural field, and I do have in mind the recent exhibition of a Swede in Paris at the 18th century, an exhibition at the Louvre Museum, and also all our work conducted together in the context of the Stockholm Culture Festival back in 2016. Please allow me as well to thank Sweden and the Swedish people for the solidarity you expressed after the terrible terror attacks against France. And I would like to express our gratitude for the support of Sweden within the context of Article 42.7 of the Treaty of the European Union. At the international level, I also would like to commend the top-level cooperation we enjoy at the Security Council. Sweden is a very active member of the Security Council at the moment, and we work together hand in hand on topics like climate disruption, development, in particular for Africa. We also work towards putting together, building bridges between development and security. Both our countries are part of MINUSMA, and we contribute as much as we can together to crisis resolution. I have in mind Ukraine, Syria. And regarding Syria, the ongoing negotiation process in Geneva is very dear to us. And I would like to commend Margot Wallström's personal commitment for the agenda Women and Peace at the United Nations. On the 8th of March, on the occasion of Women's Day, we hosted an event in Paris. On this occasion, we adopted what we call the Paris Oath. Of course, we also talked about the future of the European Union. We are a couple of days away from the anniversary of the Rome Treaty, and our project is to strengthen the Union, even more so after the decision taken, the Brexit decision. It is very important that we can show to Europeans that the European Union is the future of our nations, and we certainly cannot walk in isolation when it comes to the negotiation, the Brexit negotiation. We have to be coherent and find solutions that are in the interests of both parties. We also talked about migrations and the European social agenda. Sweden took the initiative of deepening social issues at the European level. On the 17th of November, you will be hosting a conference in Gothenburg, and France commends its initiative. It will contribute to the success of this conference for Europe. Regarding the United States, our countries shall stand united on principles, on values, which we somehow take for granted, but can sometimes be challenged. Peace, the rule of law, solidarity, our attachment to multilateralism. And this is also another reason why we expressed our willingness to increase our cooperation in the field of defense for the Europe of defense, even though we each have our own approach. It is even more important today, given, like I said, that there are more uncertainties, and even more so after the election of a new president in the United States. And we need to be reassured. We need to find out more, know more, but all of that in transparency. In a couple of days, we will together be in the United States. We will attend on the 21st and the 22nd of March the meeting of the Coalition Against Daesh, Against Terrorism, and on that occasion we will yet again express our attachment to compliance with the rule of law, legal rules and multilateralism. All of these values agreed upon after the Second World War, and in particular the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, which has been leading our work.
Thank you, Jean-Marc.
De l'agence Reuters. Juste une question pour vous deux.
A question from Reuters regarding Turkey. It's very high on the agenda. A lot of criticism against the Turkish president and a lot of criticism about the European policy. What are your reactions to what was said by the Turkish president and by the Turkish Foreign Affairs Minister? A lot of criticisms coming from them. We talked about the matter together because we're facing the same situation. Some Turkish associations of Turkish living in both our countries willing to host meetings in the context of the campaign for the constitutional referendum to be held in Turkey in a couple of days. This situation is to be handled based on our values and laws. Regarding France, we said once again that European Union members comply with the freedom of assembly and freedom of expression. This is the reason why when we received application for permission to hold meetings, this is the way we approach them. And we looked into the risk of any risk for the public order. And we received such an application for a meeting to be held in Metz, and the representative of the government, the local representative, said there was no threat to the public order. We therefore agreed, gave our approval for the meeting to take place. Margot can then explain what happened in Sweden, but the same happened in Germany and in the Netherlands. It was based on an appreciation of the local risk. That being said, France stands in solidarity with its European partners. This is the reason why yesterday I launched an appeal for things to be calmed down, and I requested each and every one to avoid any provocation. And when people use words like fascism or Nazi, it is not acceptable because these are very violent words. So I'm therefore also sending a message to the Turkish authorities. Next, France is also paying due attention to compliance with the rule of law, in particular, or also in Turkey. And when I went to Ankara, I took the floor on the occasion of a press conference together with my Turkish counterpart, and I said it. Turkey, as a matter of fact, is a member of the Council of Europe. It ratified the European Convention on Human Rights and therefore has some duties. And it is important to keep that in mind. I note that the appeal to calm things down and to respect the rule of law also came from Mrs. Mogherini just a while ago in a statement regarding Turkey, and she also said that it was for each member of the EU based on the legal rules that apply in each country to take the relevant decisions. But at the same time, she said it was important to calm things down because any escalation, even verbal escalation, can only damage relations which should be fair and balanced between Turkey and European member states. It is true that in countries like mine, where there are coming elections, there is the risk of making political statements and sometimes abusive ones. And so the messages shall be clear. And we did tell to the Turkish authorities that we would not accept any interference on the occasion of political meeting, any interference in our electoral campaign, and that there should be no escalation either. Then they can hold meetings.
Föredrar att säga någonting på svenska först, bara för att klara ut att i Sverige så råder det ju yttrandefrihet och mötesfrihet. Och det betyder att alla har rätt att yttra sig, att mötas och att utbyta åsikter, och det gäller också för valmöten. Men också yttrandefriheten har vissa begränsningar, och det är exempelvis inte tillåtet att göra sig skyldig till hets mot folkgrupp eller uppvigling. Och det kan också finnas förstås situationer där polisen kan ha synpunkter på säkerheten. Vi har varit och kommer fortsätta vara väldigt tydliga, också direkt till företrädare för Turkiet, att vi oroas över förutsättningarna att genomföra folkomröstningen om konstitutionsförändringar under rådande undantagstillstånd. Också vår djupa oro inför arresteringarna av politisk opposition, inte minst partiledarna för HDP. Och också begränsad yttrandefrihet och en avstannande fredsprocess. Allt det här har vi gjort både inom EU, tillsammans med andra EU-länder och bilateralt. Och vi menar ju att det är läge att avstå från upptrappning och att sänka tonläget och faktiskt anstränga sig för att återupprätta dialog. Men hos oss så har det varit av full respekt för yttrandefrihet och mötesfrihet. Och det har så här långt gått lugnt till, får man säga.
Fini?
OK.
Merci.
Merci.